Jeff Meeks and Chris Austin invite you to watch your favorite sports event at the Batter's Box at 43 Hermitage Avenue in Nashville, Tennessee. The Batter's Box offers shuttle service to all Titans home games. It's a great place for friends to gather for the game and after the game. So check out the Batter's Box Bar and Grill, and thanks again for sponsoring the show. Today's show is brought to you by locally owned and operated Highland Rim Speedway. Highland Rim Speedway is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year with great short-track, door-to-door stock car racing in a safe, family-friendly atmosphere. Visit their website at highlandrim.com.
Microcasting for your city. Talkopolis.
And welcome back, everybody, to Pit Pass. Joe Williams, Larry Woody. Our special guest this week, Deborah Renshaw. Go ahead and say Deborah Renshaw Parker.
Thank you. Sean would be happy.
I want to keep him happy, but everybody remember, everybody knows you as Deborah Renshaw.
Absolutely.
We talked earlier about the kids. We're talking some more about the kids because you guys have got some racing kids. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that came up, I know you tweeted a quick message back during the Super Bowl, and
darn Twitter.
It's still out there?
You'd think you Twitterers would learn.
I'm trying to figure out exactly how to go to
it.
Larry, of all the Super Bowls that I have seen, the GoDaddy commercial this year may have been the most wretched, disgusting commercial I have ever seen.
Yes.
And part of that is Danica had to intro it and go, hey, look over here. There's got to be a point. I know they pay her bills. I know they're a sponsor, okay? But and I can say this because I'm a customer there, so leave me alone. But there's got to be, because they're actually pretty good at what they do. But there's got to be a point at which she can go, nah, I'm not doing this. There have been some, we talked in the first segment about that struggle of being the first female in racing in anything.
Look, all right, I'm a Danica fan as far as what she's done on the track, what she's been able to accomplish as far as getting the pole of Daytona 500. That's a huge deal.
Right.
It's taken her a long time to get there. It's taken her a long time. It's still going to take her a long time to get there whenever they get to the intermediates and the short tracks, okay? But that commercial was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my entire life, and I'm not going to pick any bones about it. I was sitting there with my 9-year-old son. Very awkward situation, and enough is enough. I mean, a glowing bikini, a naked shower. I mean, what's next for her? I mean, her handlers need to put a hold on this and say it's time to have a little bit more respect for yourself and quit doing it.
And Deborah, this is not just a Super Bowl commercial that set you off. You've always had some problems with Danica kind of selling herself through the hotness factor. And as I said, I'm a little ambivalent about it because, again, like I said in another segment, LeBron James was born big and strong, and you and Danica were born pretty. And if you use your physical assets to help develop your career, I'm not sure I've got a problem. Now, I agree with you that I think Danica, with some of the GoDaddy stuff, might have gone over the line, and you think she has really gone over the line.
She's gone over the line when they first started. I mean, 6 years ago, or however long it's been now.
And your point was, Deborah, I interviewed you, but you think she's not a good role model for little girls, that maybe she sends the wrong message to aspiring little girls out there, not just want to go up and race them, but anywhere career-wise.
Here's the message that she's sending. Pose in a bikini over a race car or over a motorcycle or on a beach, or do this be involved in an awkward kiss that is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen or heard in my entire life. And it's okay, and that's what you have to do to get there. Because obviously in the past we haven't had as another female that has had that opportunity to get that. It's like Janet Guthrie said. I heard her the other day, and do you know that Janet Guthrie said she was offered, I think it was from Playboy, to pose nude.
Yeah.
You know what she said? She said, hell no. And you know what? At the end of the day, right or wrong, maybe she would have been the biggest thing in the world, but she chose what she thought would not be an influential decision on young people, because at the end of the day, when you are a huge role model like that, you have an obligation. End of story.
And again, your contention it was, I think it just sends a bad message. Maybe, you know, your contention role model, that it sort of sends the bad implication to little girls out there. I know when you were at the fairgrounds, you made a big deal about you wanted to be a positive role model for aspiring young girls, little girls who wanted to be the next Deborah Renshaw maybe and building a racing career. But again, not just a racing career, any career.
Right.
You think that's a problem.
I mean, it's a different day and age now too. I mean, you've got music stars that are absolutely crazy and do whatever they want to do. You've got pop stars that are doing the same thing, and now apparently you've got Danica doing what it is that she wants to do. And I mean, let's face it, she's the most recognizable female athlete probably in the world. I mean, and I would say that,
for sure,
that after the 500 for sure. So somebody thinks they're doing something right, and at the end of the day, she's the one that's got to lay her head on the pillow, right or wrong. Who knows what she's really thinking? I mean, is she upset about it? At this moment in time, she's going to say no, and she's going to be positive and confident Danica and go along her way. 10 years from now, she's going to look on it and say, man, maybe I shouldn't have been so crazy.
Well, I remember when Danica was racing with IRL when they came into the super speedway, and this was a topic back then. She had posed in some kind of seductive
She's always done it,
swimsuits
right.
and that kind of thing.
She's her
SI, Sports Illustrated, and some modeling before her racing career took off. And her response was, "You kind of do what you've got to do. That, you know, if you have physical assets and you can use them to kind of get some entries." She didn't apologize for it. She
Right.
said,
The Marilyn Monroe factor.
you do what you got to do.
My
And
brother has always said, why didn't you do that, Deborah? And I mean, I just said, I just couldn't.
Do you think, as we come to Sunday and races in the future, that this recently revealed budding romance between Danica and Ricky Stenhouse Jr., is that going to have an effect of any type on the racetrack?
Deborah knows more about this than I do.
Personal
relationship.
Right.
I don't know.
It's when you live, breathe, and die something. You know, that's her world. That's what she's in. You know, however the relationship progressed, either pre-divorce, after divorce. I mean, I don't know. That's for none of us to decide. And you know,
I'm just saying from a driver's standpoint on the racetrack.
If put in a certain situation, yes, it's going to affect their decision on what they do on the racetrack.
It's going to be kind of hanging over them because they're in such a public eye.
Right.
You know,
That's a bubble,
if both of them, one of them raced and the other did, but the fact that they're both racing, they're at the track every weekend together, and so they're both going to be on the microscope. And I remember Darrell Walter once said, Darrell and I were talking about this, about kind of how your personal situation carries over on the track, and Darrell said that race drivers, more than any other athletes, are affected by the mental aspects, that it kind of weighs on their mind. Like Darrell's example was somebody had gone through a divorce at the time. A driver was going through a divorce, and he said, man, of course it affects you. He said if you got a kid homesick when you're racing, and that's in the back of your mind, how's my little girl doing, or you're going through a divorce, he said any of that can throw a driver off his game. And so Danica going through the divorce, and then on the heels of it, taking up with a 5-year younger fellow driver, I think it'll probably have an effect. Now, having said that, Danica seems awfully good at putting all the distractions away, and when she gets in the car, she seems pretty focused, as we saw last Sunday when she's the fastest driver at Daytona. So it'll be interesting to see, though, as how she and Ricky hold up as this media spotlight intensifies, and it will intensify as the season goes on.
So you think then that Danica kind of compartmentalizes things enough that if Ricky's first and she's second and the checkered flag is sitting at Daytona, she'll punt him?
I think so, I agree. I mean, they're racers.
You can always get another girlfriend or boyfriend. You don't get a chance to win at Daytona every day.
But look, NASCAR is going to cash in. It's going to be a gold. It's already in the Inquirer. It's going to be on TMZ. I mean, it's going to be a cash-in story. It's huge for everybody.
The biggest positive story for NASCAR. The second biggest media-wise since Earnhardt's death, which is obviously a terrible downer. But for a positive story, I don't recall anything getting this kind of coverage. And of course, NASCAR loves it, and we've already heard the conspiracy theories that NASCAR let Danica use a bigger restrictor plate or enhanced fuel or whatever to put her on the pole. But as Deborah knows,
can I bring up a point?
It'd be hard to do, wouldn't it?
Okay, and I want to ask your opinion on this. Okay, because I understand it to be that there used to be like a 200-pound driver base limit, right? Yep. And then this year they moved it to 180, correct?
They've
and
changed
now,
it some.
They base, when they put those cars over the scale, they say that you have to be 150 pounds. That's what every driver starts at. It cannot be lower than 150 pounds. They will never start that. Danica weighs 110, 100 pounds.
You're having to add weight,
Well,
I mean, I'm not saying it's, but we all know that weight is an advantage or a disadvantage at times.
Especially when you can put it where you want it.
And some of the critics have brought that up. That's part of the
but they're not going to go lower than 150,
Jeff
so
Gordon,
there's a 50
the same
pound.
thing happened when Jeff Gordon was doing so well, because Jeff doesn't weigh a whole lot more than Danica probably, and they were complaining too that Jeff had a weight advantage because he didn't weigh as much as Jimmy Spencer or whomever. So, but I wasn't sure what the rule was. Again, Deborah knows more about the rules than I do. That they do have to. There is a minimum that they have to carry,
that they
and
start.
if you don't weigh that much, then
you
you
get
got
that
to
advantage.
put rocks in your pocket.
So I mean, nobody's really. I haven't seen much about it out there, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a 50-pound advantage, and that's huge at Daytona.
But Jeffy, again, it goes back to Jeff Gordon. He doesn't weigh
He
a whole lot
probably weighs
more.
140.
Yeah, and Jeff in a bikini now. He's really
Okay,
with
that
We could go on forever.
that terrible visual image.
It's a good point, and it's nice to have somebody on the show that knows the NASCAR rules. Which
Yeah, but how did that lead to Jeff Gordon in a bikini? There's one way we can get that image out of our mind, and that's to go over to the batter's box for a little lunch and maybe a designated driver. But they are serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the batter's box over on Hermitage Avenue. Go by and see our friends over there. We're coming back to our final segment with Deborah Renshaw. We're going to catch up on everything else that we haven't already. Stay with
more?
us. There's more.
Oh, yeah.
Sound like an infomercial. There's more coming up on Pit Pass.